Sandra here from Laser Love. I have a particular interest at the moment in making some gift boxes, and I've been having great fun doing this. But one of the things that makes it even more fun is to be able to use AI to create an image to engrave for the top of the box. So I'm using Xtool Creative Space because I've got an S1, so this is the software I'm going to use when it comes to the AI. Here is how you access the AI. So click on this one and we get the All Make or I'll Make. I'm not sure how you are supposed to pronounce that, and this is the beta version. And it enables you to do different things according to the type of thing that you're trying to do, different versions of images. So we have some style palettes here, and you can choose what you actually want to do. Now I want to do 3D effect engraving, so I'm going to click on this. And I've still got a number of different options. I haven't really tried out the hologram one very much yet, not actually engraving with it. I've seen the image, but I've not actually engraved. But the ones that I want to do are really low relief. So if I click on this, you get to the page that I've already got where I have my various designs already. So these are ones I've played around with before. So I've already done some designs. I've done this one as a box lid, and I thought about doing that one. I thought it's a little bit similar, so maybe I'll do something different. And so I actually tried doing a steampunk version, and that was more like a photographic image that I wasn't so keen on. This is the hologram. This was the marble sculpture type version. And up here you can see the verbal prompts that I put in. So what you do is you put in a description in this box here of what you actually want. And for that one, it's a fairy tale castle in the woods with a stream and woodland creatures. But yeah, that's what it comes up with, but not the effect that I want at the moment. So these are two that I've just done. Carol singers in a village on a starry night before Christmas. Now you can see some carol singers in there. They don't stand out as much as these do. And that looks pretty nice. And then I thought, what else do you have at Christmas? I think, oh, bakery goods and things. So I put in village bakery at Christmas, window display and street scene. And I thought these were really quite cute. And I'm thinking that I will probably do that one. But let's have a closer look at it and see what it actually looks like close up. That's a bit of a wonky wheel there. I don't think you get very far with that wheel like that. But it looks interesting. Okay, so let's have a look at the other one. And we have some baked goods actually outside of the shop. We've got them in the window upstairs, which is a strange place to put them. I mean, it looks quite nice as a scene, not exactly realistic, but would I expect realism? Probably not. Just going to close that down. Looking at this one, it's also got a reindeer on the roof of somewhere. I mean, sometimes you have to look at these things carefully and think, yeah, do I really want that or do I not? As it looks interesting, but the deer on the roof is a little bit suspect, and I definitely wouldn't want the eagle. Okay, let's have a look. Delicious gingerbread house decorated with sweets and icing, turrets, doors and windows, lollipops, and sugar animals. Nearly there. It's only a minute or so. Yay! Now this is definitely what I was looking for. I've got lots of lovely images there. The first one I won't go for. I think it's got too many lollipops there. This one, it would be different because I've got this circular part of the design as well. Let's just have a look at a closer look and see what it looks like. Okay, so we got some unusual looking animals in there. Right, let's have a look at the next one. I quite like that one. It's got a lot of dimension to it. I do quite like that. And then this one. Ooh, decisions. I think that one has got the most dimension in it, and I think that will make a great image. So I'm going to click on Import to XCS. I want it to fit on the canvas. I already know that I'm going to make this so that it's 80 millimeters, so I can just do that straight away. There we go. I've already got my cut lines for a 80 millimeter square. This is the box design that I'm doing. I may change the engraving on the side panels, but this is the design I'm going to be doing. And so what I want to do is to edit this to make it do what I need it to do. So I need to adjust it, and I want to go to grayscale for a start, so put that up to grayscale. And I probably want to increase the sharpness a little bit and possibly up the contrast. And I want to make this a lot bigger so I can see how much detail I am getting. All right, so this is my image, and I'm going to put it into one of my squares here and make sure it lines up. Horizontal align center, vertical align center, there we are. So I've now got this, which has got no parameters attached to it as yet, because I've not told it what material I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be using 3mm basswood. Now, this is the automatic settings for 3mm basswood, and I'm not entirely sure that I want those settings. I have found that if I do a setting of 80 and a speed of 150, I get a pretty good depth to my engraving. Now, what I also have done on odd occasion, if I have engraved this and I don't think it pops enough, what I do is I go into the trace function, do an automatic trace, save it, and then go back into the layers, and you see the different layers for the trace. Remove every other layer except the black one, and then redo the black one. Now, the other thing that I do on this is I swap it over to Jarvis. And for some reason, that does seem to make it a little better. It's something to do with dithering. Now, dithering is something you may or may not have come across before. It's a little bit like dots. It's how a colour is perceived as grey, black, or white according to the density of the dots on the image. So whereas with a vector, which is what you'll get when you've traced this image, what you have at the moment is a picture, and the engraving is done according to how pale or how dark the software believes the image to be, and that's how it differentiates. It goes into a darker mode for darker areas and less power for the lighter areas. So although this doesn't work in the same way perhaps as light burn works, it still does the same type of thing. It still does do a difference between the light and the dark. Just because you have one power setting set for your image, it doesn't make it all come out the same color. It makes, if it did, you wouldn't get an image, would you? So it does vary the power between the light and the dark. So the light has less power and the dark has more power. And if you do the image trace and then you select just the dark areas, that will make the dark areas go again, but it will be vector engraving this time. And it will add extra depth to those dark areas. The dark areas are generally the bit that you want to have recessed. Not always, but that is generally the case. This image is slightly different because you don't necessarily want to make the gingerbread itself recess. So I'm not sure whether this one will work really well or not, but I will give it a go and see what happens. So I need to switch on my machine, put some wood in it, that would help, and set everything up. Now I'm using scraps of wood, so what I'm going to do is to take all of this lot and switch it to no output because I only actually want to do my engraving bit. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put that to output, but only that. I'm going to switch on my device and connect it. I have enough wood in there to get this image engraved and cut out, but I haven't got enough wood under it at the moment to do the rest of it. So those two are going to be done. That's the outer cut line for my engraving, and everything else is going to be ignored. I need to do an auto measure, be able to adjust the focus for me so that it'll be focused properly. The other thing I'm going to do on the cut line, I'm going to put the speed up to 10. It's not a massive difference, but I know that my wood is not quite 3mm, and I know that a speed of 10 will cut it quite happily, so I may as well do that. I've only got it set to 100 lines per centimetre. I really don't think it needs any more than that, and I'm going to process that. Right, I've got everything set up as I should, but what I didn't do so far is move this design to where my laser is. There, and then go to process, click on start. Yep, that is fine. And press the button on my machine. I've got this one engraved now, and what I want to do is to trace it and then do an extra layer of engraving on the dark bits. So if I select this image and go to trace, just let it do its thing, go to save, there we go. So it just traced this. You can tell it's traced because it's got lots of little lines all over the place, and because we have this list here. So if I go to green, that's going to do everything that's got a green layer, but there isn't a green layer within that image, so leave that one alone. I want to delete the purple layer, so just go in and delete that, confirm. Delete the orange layer, confirm. Do to that is I'm gonna make it a different color. I'm gonna make it yellow. That way I won't have to consider it. So we don't have any green there. If we got any green anywhere, then I can delete it. Confirm. So yeah, all green layers are gone. And I now have only a black layer and a yellow layer. The yellow layer I obviously want to keep in place. The black one is the one that I'm going to be working on. Everything else is ignored, and this at the moment is set to score, which I do not want. I want it to engrave, and I want it to be at 80 and 150. Thereabouts, and just the one pass. So if I now send that to process, bearing in mind I have not moved my image at all, it's going to go over that, so I can click on start and start my machine off again. So what that's going to do is just go over all those black areas again to make them recess further than they were already, and that gives you an extra depth to your engraved image. Now the rest of these pieces are fairly self-explanatory. We have a base, we have sides, and we have some inserts which are basically slightly higher than the sides, which go into the base of your box, and they do that so that the lid has something to close over. So instead of the box just meeting in the middle. If you put a hinge on it, it would just meet in the middle. It goes over these inserts and closes properly so that it is well sealed. And I have deliberately made these the right size for my 2.7mm wood. If your wood is slightly thicker than that, then you will probably want to re-measure the width of these to make sure they will still fit. I've got my engraved image, and the next thing you need to do is to construct the box, because I've got all the box pieces cut out here. We have the sides of the box, both top and bottom. Now you have longer pieces and shorter pieces. The longer pieces are exactly the same width as the base or the lid. The lid is exactly the same size as the base. So you put one piece there. You would use a shorter piece for the next one, so that would go to the inside of that edge. And then you would have a longer piece going on that side as well. And you build up the sides that way. Once you have done that, I will show you one of the boxes I have here. You get this result where you have outer edges and you have an inside piece. You have the full piece and then you have the shorter inside piece. Okay. So these inserts, which only go in the base, are also done in two different lengths. You put in the longer pieces on opposite sides. So this has got a longer piece, there's a longer piece, and then the shorter pieces go between it. You glue them in place and that will make your base. Your lid is simply a lid with no extra pieces in it. The other thing that I did was I printed off, or I got my husband to print off some angles, which do make it a little bit easier for you to add things to the base and make sure that they are perfectly vertical as well as being in the right place. So you can hold it in place while you allow your glue to dry, or you can, if you're doing it in other ways, for example, you might decide to put, this is one of the longer ones, a longer piece in there, put it like so, put in a shorter piece, have all your glue in place, and then if you push these two pieces together and clip them, your piece of wood has to be in the correct place, as long as you've got it pressed down to the floor as well. It doesn't have any choice, it's going to be in the right place because it can't be at an angle once it's gripped that way. You can see the angle here is perfectly fine. So that does make it a little bit easier if you have the ability to do that. And if you're thinking, why didn't you use wood to make these angles? I easily could make them out of wood, but if I've got glue in place, which is wood glue, it's a lot easier to make sure it doesn't stick to pieces of plastic. Now I haven't put any brackets, any hinges on the back of it. I was thinking of putting some hinges on, but I'm not sure what glue to use because I've got some plastic hinges that were 3D printed. I can colour these any colour I like with an alcohol marker, which is great. I can get it to blend in. I just don't know quite what glue I'm going to use to stick that onto wood and get that to work really well. But yeah, that's how the box is completed. Now, if you want to put a lining inside, use felt or velvet, something like that, and you can line it however you so wish. But don't line the lid, except maybe the base part of the lid. You don't want to line the sides of this because if you do, it won't close, and that will be a little bit unfortunate, having gone to the trouble to make a box that closes and matches really well. And there we are, a Christmas gift box. I'm going to make this one up, take a photograph of it and show it to you later on, but I have two that I have done already, and they're really nice for a way of giving a small gift to make it look extra special.